Good afternoon. Okay. Once again, good afternoon on behalf of the Office of the Prime Minister for a briefing update on two issues currently on humanitarian operations that are being undertaken and rebuilding efforts within the Tigray region, as well as legal related issues in the Tigray region. And on the elections, I have here with me the Attorney General, Dr. Gideon Timotheos, who would also be providing you with a briefing current situation update. To begin, I will start with the preliminary statement and provide you with the details. On Tigray, the government of Ethiopia's law enforcement mission in the Tigray region, which commenced in November 2020, has notably garnered global attention. The suffering of Ethiopians who are victims of a situation that is not of their choosing is a source of pain for all Ethiopians and for the government. Over the course of the past months, there have been various efforts on the part of the government to assuage the pain and suffering of its own citizens in the region. While these efforts may have been marred by various challenges given the complex nature of any armed engagement, these efforts nevertheless have been underway and centered on enabling the return of normalcy for our people within the Tigray region. The aspirations of this administration to enable a life of dignity for its citizens over the course of the past 3 years has often been hijacked by agents of instability and their accomplices. The situation in Tigray is no different. A conflict provoked by a belligerent and now outlawed criminal enterprise has initiated endless suffering for the people of the region in whose name it continues to trade. While revisiting the incidents of November 4, 2020 that precipitated a federal government intervention may be viewed as a repetition, the global community has failed to come to terms with a number of glaringly apparent facts, which I would like to draw your attention to once again. Number one, the criminal enterprise's 3-decade abuse of power, state capture, bottomless corruption, and gross human rights violations committed against the nations and nationalities of the country, particularly ethnic Somalis, Amharas, Oromos, Anwaks, and many other groups without any external intervention. Number two, the disdain shown by the criminal enterprise towards numerous attempts to dialogue initiated by the federal government and many other independent actors, which have all been thwarted over the past 3 years. Number three, the warmongering narrative and overt belligerence exhibited by the criminal enterprise for several months preceding their attacks on the northern command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. War is our traditional dance has been a commonly stated theme of the terrorist group. Number four, the public confession of a preemptive attack on the North Command of the National Defense Force by a regional irregular force which constitutes an act of war on the state and people of Ethiopia, which warranted a response. Number five, the continued belligerence of fragments of the criminal enterprise, despite several calls by the federal government over the past months for them to surrender peacefully and lay down their arms with a guarantee of amnesty and support to return to life. Number six, the continued attacks on humanitarian convoys by fragments of the criminal enterprise that are blocking assistance meant for the very people in whose name they are trading. Number seven, the misguided, well-financed, and lobby firm-supported disinformation campaigns and false narratives lodged by sympathizers of the criminal enterprise outside of Ethiopia. Number eight, the utilization of looted national wealth illegally siphoned off into offshore accounts being used to finance disinformation campaigns and destabilizing activities, while the people of Tigray in whose name they trade have yet to receive a drop of financial and humanitarian support from these communities abroad. Number nine, the establishment and active operation of a constitutionally mandated provisional administration whose members continue to be assassinated by the criminal enterprise for merely serving the people of Tigray under a new mandate. And finally, number 10, the recent designation of the TPLF as a terrorist organization by the House of People's Representatives in a process adhering to the constitutional process of the country. These 10 facts are often deliberately overlooked, omitted, and disregarded by various entities who may have another agenda that has less to do with the well-being of our people in the Tigray region, but rather with other vested interests. The concoction of figures and stories to push a particular global narrative does not serve the people of Tigray, in whose name fabrications are spun for fundraising, relevance, and other interests. Ethiopia is witnessing an orchestrated attack that is condescending in nature, often patronizing in tone, belligerent in approach, and destructive in outcome. It is disingenuous to hijack the suffering of ordinary citizens for other goals. Compassion, upholding human rights, maintaining rule of law are values and principles entrenched in our cultural fabric and heritage as Ethiopians. While perceptions of a people in siloed ethnic identities of Amhara, Tigray, Oromo, Somali, etc. is prevalent, Ethiopians know and understand that their roots run deep and are intertwined long before identity was institutionalized. Therefore, save for a few conflict entrepreneurs that continuously press on lines of divisions, Ethiopians have and know how to live in harmony with each other. The need to support our people in the Tigray region recover from the current suffering is a primary responsibility of the government of Ethiopia, which it takes very seriously and is undertaking within the means available to it. Ethiopia has also shown readiness and an open will to positively and constructively engage with all partners, local and international. However, demonizing a sitting prime minister and chastising the government for reversing state collapse triggered by a criminal enterprise, instead of extending further support and reinforcement to rehabilitate the Tigray region, is unproductive and not constructive. The government of Ethiopia, led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, knows its duties and commitments to its own people, to international norms and standards, and continues to take measures in addressing the multifaceted needs of more than 100 million people throughout the country. The government categorically rejects accusations of decimation of a people as a policy. Such is not the heartbeat of the administration. The following figures and data compiled from key government stakeholders will provide an insight into the breadth of work being undertaken by the government in the Tigray region, but which does not seem to be making headlines. So I'll start with the rule of operations. With regards to what's being undertaken in that regard, counterinsurgency operations by the Ethiopian National Defense Forces are now concentrated only in 2 areas where the outlawed operatives are active, and this phase is expected to soon be finalized. The outlawed group is occasionally undertaking attacks outside of these areas to give the impression of control and that the region is completely unstable. However, as I mentioned, the operations currently are focused on 2 primary areas to apprehend these illegal components and terrorizing elements. On humanitarian assistance, delivery of food and non-food items for 4.5 million beneficiaries in the first round, with a reported reach of 4.3 million beneficiaries in the second and third rounds is noted and reported by the stakeholder that's responsible for this. Within the Tigray region, 93 waradas are currently, or districts, are currently being aided or provided aid, for which the federal government provides to 14 of the 93, which means the remaining is being covered by partner organizations that are active in the area and providing humanitarian assistance. More than 166,000 metric tons of food, which costs 5.2 billion birr or 131 million USD, has been distributed thus far. The food distributed in the region for the first and second round was covered by both the government at 70% of contribution and partners at 30% of contribution. Currently, 6 operators, namely World Food Programme, World Vision, CARE, Relief Society of Tigray, Food for the Hungry, and the government of Ethiopia are providing this food assistance in the region. Out of the 93 districts, as mentioned, WFP, World Vision, Care, Rest, and Food for the Hungry, or FH, covers 79 districts. And as I mentioned, the government of Ethiopia is covering 14% or 14 districts. This shows how the government of Ethiopia has been working closely with partners and creating a conducive environment for humanitarian actors to operate. With this continued provision of food assistance, the global claims of hunger being used as a weapon of war are baseless and politically motivated. More than 79,000 emergency shelter and non-food item kits, including 41 rub holes, which is estimated to be more than 638 million birr, or 16 million USD, has been supplied to cover the needs of more than or close to 400,000 IDPs. However, there is a significant gap in non-food items, which partners are covering only at 30% of the total requirements. So this is one gap that needs to be sufficiently addressed in catering to the needs of people affected by the conflict. Emergency medicine, which is estimated to be which at an expense of 72.9 million birr, and 12 ambulances have been supplied to the region by the Ministry of Health to strengthen the basic health services and facilities which had been disrupted. The Ministry of Health has been working to operationalize the health facilities in the region and availing emergency supplies for the hospitals and other institutions in the region. In addition, together with partners, more than 60 mobile health teams have been established to deliver health services. 2 UN agencies and 9 international NGOs, in collaboration with the region's health bureau, are providing mobile health services in different waradas. So again, the allegations that health services are completely destructed and not operational is a baseless accusation, because together with aid organizations and partners, these activities are being undertaken. With regards to water supply for internally displaced people, 120 water trucks have been continuously active and deployed to supply safe water to IDPs and communities, which cover more than 621,000 people in the region. The Ministry of Agriculture, considering that the planting season is also upon us, and ensuring that farmers are reintegrated back into their farming activities, the Ministry of Agriculture has allocated more than 10 million birr to strengthen the regional agriculture and natural resource bureaus. Per reports provided, a total of 537,728 quintals of fertilizers have been made available thus far and have been dispatched to warehouses within the region. 3,440 quintals of seeds have also been purchased and transported to the region, with partners allocating around 72 million for livestock restocking as well. In terms of education, the Ministry of Education has allocated 95 million birr to the reopening of schools. Ministry of Education has also dispatched 1 million face masks to the region and installing hand washing facilities in up to 58 schools to provide and to promote COVID-19 protocols with the coordination of the education clusters in the region. Refugees in the region have been also one of the key priorities of the government to maintain their safety and security, and for the continuous food and non-food supplies to be available. In refugee camps where access and issues related with safety and security are a concern, the government has also taken immediate action by relocating and maintaining basic humanitarian services within the new locations. To say a little bit with regards to coordination mechanisms that have been put in place between the federal government and partners, currently the government and its partners are working closely based on the agreement which was signed on November 29, 2020, which stipulate terms of agreement related to access, coordination, and humanitarian assistance. To boost safe, efficient, and effective delivery of humanitarian assistance, an emergency coordination center, ECC, has been established in Mekelle for some months now. And this ECC, or Emergency Coordination Center, is comprised of relevant line ministries, regional bureaus, UN agencies, bilaterals, and international NGOs. This ECC is mandated to address immediate food and non-food needs in best organized and coordinated manner. Similarly, there has been also structures that have been put in place to cascade the services that the ECC is providing in a 4-layer emergency coordination system at the regional, zonal, warada, and food distribution points. just to reiterate, as part of this coordination mechanism and in efforts to align with partners and also hear their side of what needs to be fulfilled, a very useful